Good morning, everybody. Turn to the book of Numbers. Book of Numbers. This is like a two-part. I did the first part yesterday and put it on my YouTube channel. And so many lessons that we can learn from the Old Testament that is 100% applicable to our Christian life. But long story short, the people of Israel continued to rebel and murmur against God over and over and over again when they had left Egypt, continuing crying about we had it better as slaves in Egypt than we do now as free men. And so it got to the point where they were on the cusp of entering the promised land. And they sent 12 spies to go search out the land, and the 12 spies came back. 2 of them brought a good report, Caleb and Joshua, and the other 10 brought a bad report. And of course, the Israelites decided to side with the bad report of the 10 spies and refused to adhere to what God had told them by go take the land, it's yours for the taking. And God punished them. He punished them severely this time, though. He told them, I've had it, I'm done. These 10 times you have murmured against me, you've rebelled against me. And nobody above the age of 20, save Caleb and Joshua, will enter into the promised land. Done. Your carcasses will fall in a wilderness, is what he tells them. So if you turn to Numbers 14, the story's not done. That was the first part of it. The second part is when God gives you to do something, you need to do it. God told the Israelites to go take the land, and they wouldn't do it. So now he punishes them, and they come out in chapter 14. In verse 40. And they rose up early in the morning and gat them up unto the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we be here, and we will go up unto the place which the Lord hath promised, for we have sinned. So they're like, okay, Lord, we're sorry, we're going to go do what you told us to do. And Moses said, Wherefore now do ye transgress the commandment of the Lord? Because he had told them, don't go, you're done. But it shall not prosper. Go not up, for the Lord is not among you, that ye be not smitten before your enemies. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and ye shall fall by the sword, because ye are turned away from the Lord. Therefore the Lord will not be with you. But they presumed to go up unto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and Moses departed not out of the camp. Then the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites which dwelt in that hill, and smote them, and discomforted them, even unto Hormah. So they still couldn't learn their lesson. They kept messing up and messing up. God's finally like, okay, here's what's going to happen. Okay, we're going to do what you told us to do now, God. We're sorry. It was too late. They went up and they got destroyed by their enemies. Now, we live in the age of grace, and we do know that God gives second chances. This is not trying to delete that whatsoever, to tell you that God doesn't do that. We know that there were 2 sons, and the one says, I go not up, but went up later, and the other son says, I go up and didn't go up at all, which of the one did the will of the Father. But I'm here to give you a warning to learn from the Israelites here. There are opportunities in our lives that we have, and we need to do it right then and there. It could be too late, right? Witnessing would be the number one thing, because that's like our number one commandment. Go out and spread the gospel. There are people that you have had an opportunity and will continue to have an opportunity to witness to and didn't, and that person is no longer here. Yeah, I'll tell them about Jesus the next time we ride down to Newcastle, because it's just uncomfortable to talk about it now. And they die in a car wreck. You're saying that's kind of extreme, Brother Chris. That can happen. Stuff like that has happened. Period. When we have those opportune times, we're called to be witnesses. Right? We're called to go and spread forth the gospel. We need to jump on that and do it when we have the opportunity to do it. We may not have another chance to go do it. You know, that'd be one of those things that sits and eats at you. You know, what is it? We got the 30th coming up. What's on the 30th? Evangelism, right? So I should have what? A whole bunch of people here with me to go out and do what? Hang door flyers. Why? Because we have an opportunity to go out and reach the lost. If you've ever read the story of the woman who was came to church and got saved. And that's because a little boy was knocking on the door with a church flyer. She stopped in the middle of attempting suicide to go down and answer the door. That's a true story. So don't be like the Israelites and keep putting off what God has told us to do. Evangelism is just one of the things. Church attendance. Christ died for the church. Christ died for the church. Right? So where should we be when the doors are open? Church. Right? Because we are the church. It's a weird conundrum, right? Those opportunities aren't always there. And you don't want to live around with regret of this person, something happened to this person, and I had the chance to tell them. I had the chance to try and warn them some way. Like I stopped and ate at a restaurant today. I made sure I grabbed one of my $1 million bill tracts, right? That way, I've placed the gospel there for when they come to clean the plate up. It's right there in front of them. I put it there. Now, if they tear it up and throw it away, if they laugh at it, that's on them. But something so simple like that, those are those opportunities we don't want to pass up. If you feel God pulling on your heartstrings and telling you to go do something, just be obedient and do it, because the children of Israel could not learn their lesson, would not learn their lesson, and their carcasses fell in the wilderness. And it's like I talked about in my first message on this, it's on my channel. There are too many Christians that are going to spend their entire Christian lives, their entire lives as saved, born-again, baptized believers, wandering in the wilderness because they just won't trust God and be obedient to God and do what He tells us to do. You have no idea what God has for you if you won't take those steps and do it. Just do it. Just do it. How much different would it have been for these people to have lived their entire lives as slaves and actually got to enter into the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey? But instead, they died in the wilderness. That's a sad state. Very sad state. Brother Brian, would you close us in prayer?